All right, guys. So in this video, we're going to be looking at Monday's navigation pane, the admin and explore areas, as well as deep diving into everything about Monday permissions. So let's jump into it. And this is where we will generally land on whenever we first go to our account instance. And we will land on the home page. But real quick, some of the items that we have over here is the home page, My Work, AI Note Taker. If we click more, we can see the quick search function, which is also using the hotkey Control K, the template center, Autopilot hub, and then recent. Okay, so if we also click just below it, we could see favorites. This is if we have favorited boards, docs, dashboards, or similar types of assets in Monday, and we want to pin them up here at the top left for a much easier access instead of going to that specific workspace and finding that board or other asset. So we land in the home page when we first come to the account. We have the recently visited section, which is mostly the boards that we have recently visited. And if we click show all, we could see the quick search function, which also shows a larger list of the boards that we have interacted with. And just below that, we have the update feed, which is also known as the inbox. This is a much more compressed version showing us of the large update feed inbox right up here. So if we were to zoom in, and if you see this little mailbox icon, just click it. And we can view over here all updates that are happening pertaining to us or the items, boards, workspaces that we are interacting with. If we were mentioned anywhere, and as you could see, Royman has tagged me with an @ symbol. Anything that we've bookmarked, all account, and also scheduled. So scheduled updates, this one is whenever we write updates in advance and schedule them for any time we choose. And these are pending updates that are supposed to be sent to our teammates. Now, if we look below this, we also have My Workspaces. So My Workspaces are all of the workspaces that we have access to. And if we have the permission to access them, they will show up right here. So let's move on from there into one of the coolest features of Monday, and this is My Work. My Work is the area that combines every single item that we have been assigned to using the people column in that particular board. And we will go over this. If you have not yet seen the people column, we will go over this in a future video. But if you have been assigned to any item in the people column, then every single item will show up here in My Work. And you can view this as a table. You can view this as a calendar if you wanted to, if there were certain dates attached to the items themselves. So over here, for instance, we have calendar. And if we were to look at this, this is in 2021, 2022, which is why it's not showing up here on the calendar. But if we were to change it, we would be able to see all of those items over here. But also, if we go back to table, right here on the right-hand corner, instead of a date view, we can also look at it as a status view. So this is a sorting feature. Right now it's sorted by the different dates. We could sort it by status. And now we could see that the status column turns into its own groups. Working on it, stuck, done, future steps. This status column, whatever items have that particular status column, now gets grouped into those groups. If we look at it as priority, if there is a priority column, and in this case, for instance, We don't really have anything in the priority except for item 1, which is critical. Or we could also do the board view. So the groupings themselves become sorted as what we want to choose over here. So if we choose board view, we get a grouping sort of the different boards. So over here we have tasks of Project Whiskey, which we'll show you in a bit. We have also a projects board. There we go. And all fields over here. And also single list view just jams everything together. So super helpful if you want to look at every single item that you're assigned to in just one go. The AI note taker, this is a new feature, and I will go over AI features in a future video, but this is a feature that is essentially working similar to a lot of other AI software that exist, such as Otter or any AI note taker that follows your calls or conversations. So not really critical for this video right here, but this is a new feature that Monday is releasing, and a lot of other AI features as well. So we'll get into a lot of those features in a future video. And if we were to look now at the more section, we have the quick search function. And if we click this, and if I could zoom out, there we go. Sometimes the zoom does not want to work with me, so let's go to quick search again. The quick search area is the area that allows us to see a quick view of the boards and the other types of assets that we've interacted with, but mostly the boards in the different types of workspaces. Now, if we wanted to do a more detailed search function, we would essentially go right up here at the top right corner in the magnifying glass. And actually right now, there we go. Let me just zoom out real quick. I've set it to open up the quick search by default. But if we wanted to open up the detailed search, we just have to click this open classic search to then open up the classic search. And in this classic search, we can search in a bit more refined detail. So search everything. This will search everything in more detail than the quick search will. Whereas the quick search will bring up boards for the most part, this will search everything that exists in Monday, all the way to items and sub-items and anything else. So we could look at tags, things that are related to me, saved and recent searches, and Monday is also telling us we could try the new quick search function, board search, updates that we make in individual items, which we will go over, any files that we want to search that we've attached anywhere in Monday, people who are working in Monday, in this Monday account, and any tags. This is a column type, and also any docs. So a lot more detail in that search function. Now we're going to take a look at the next item in the navigation pane, which is the template center. So if we zoom in over here, it's the second one down from the more section. And if we click this, Monday opens up to a window that shows us all of the different pre-built templates that we can use that Monday has constructed for us right out of the box to start getting going super easy, super quick. And as we could see, there's so many different types of templates: marketing, content production, project management. If you wanted to get started real quick with project management, which has been the foundation for work management, you can just choose the template that you want out of here, and Monday will load them up into your account. So if we were to do, let's say, customer projects, we click this over here and we do use template, and Monday will start loading this in the specific workspace that we had open at the time. So if you give it just a second, we could see right here the customer projects folder with 2 boards and 1 Monday dashboard to see everything. And we'll go into dashboards in a bit more detail, but just to show you, it pre-builds out boards and dashboards for you so you can get started a lot quicker, a lot easier. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is the Autopilot Hub. This is something really cool, which has to do with automations, and we will get into this in a future video. But if you have any sort of issues with your automations that you have built where they are running into errors or anything of that sort, this is looking at the overall automation health. So up here at the top left, we have health. If we click on usage, obviously this is a demo account, so we don't have any automations or integrations showing up here just yet, but it will show us exactly how our automations are being used. And connections. So connections is if we have any internal apps or third-party apps that we have connected to, they will show up over here. Now, if we click into more again and go into recents, this will again be a recent list of the boards, dashboards, anything that we have been interacting with. And it's very similar to if we go to the home section, this recently visited section. So hopefully this has been helpful, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Hey everyone. So in this video, we're going to be checking out how the admin section of Monday works and what we can change in there. So if we go over here to the top right, find our profile picture, just click into it, we can then see all of these different menu options that we can access. And this is our backend system. So let's start off with the first one, which would be My Profile. So if we click into My Profile, we can see here we have a couple of different options that we can change. And let's do the proper zoom so you guys can see it. So we have personal info. We can change up our name, our title, and we can see our role over here that we are admin. Email, phone, location. If we wanted to add a birthday or work anniversary, and then create and join teams as well. So, and we will explore that on the next tab. Working status. We can tell the rest of our company whether we're in the office, we're working from home, really up to us if we want to use this feature or not. And also notifications. This is going to tie into the notification bell icon. So let me show you guys real quick where we access that. So I just exited out. If you see here, right next to the inbox or the update feed, we have this bell icon. This is notifications. This notification section is similar to the update feed, but the notification system is mostly for things that we are mentioned in, assigned to, so things that have more so to do with us as a user in the account rather than the board that we're working with, the workspace, the items themselves, which is things that we will find in the update feed. So the notifications is more pertaining to us. So we can also control that. If we go back to My Profile, in notifications of what we want to be notified by and how we want to be notified. So we have all these different options of what would trigger a notification for us. And also, besides being notified in Monday.com, we can also choose to be notified through email, also through Teams, and also through Slack as well. And one cool thing that I love that Monday does in most of the areas that we work with, they always have this icon known as give feedback. So if something's not working, if you love how something works, definitely give the team at Monday some feedback so they know what works and what doesn't. Now, if we check out over here, the language and region, we could choose obviously our language, our time zone. Let me just zoom in a little bit more so we could see better. Time format, date format, and if we want, and this is critical if we're working with calendars, with dates, with timeline columns, is how do we want the first day displayed? Sunday or Monday? So make sure you guys set all this stuff before you start working in the boards themselves. Password, self-explanatory, and session history. This session history is important for account admins and security folks who want to look at making sure that whoever's been accessing Monday is legitimate. So if you want to place IP restrictions on the enterprise side of things, you can, but this shows you just an overall security and safety of who's accessing your account and what sessions have been happening. So let's exit out of the profile. And now let's go into import data. This is the next one on the list. Now, if we click this, this is simply telling us that we can import data from multiple different sources into our boards. So if we have data that exists in Excel, in Google Sheets, those are going to be your two big ones, but we can also import data from a lot of other apps, as you can see. And we're not just limited to these apps that we see over here. There's obviously third-party software tools that we can use to export data and then import them into Monday. This is just a native way of doing this in a very quick and efficient manner. My go-to obviously is Excel with CSV formatting, but you could also plug in a lot of apps over here. So let's exit out, go into automations. This is going to be the bread and butter, which we need to get into in a separate video, but automations is where the magic of how data is interacted with other data and how data is interpreted. So the automations over here, think of trigger and action steps. We can set up pre-built automations that Monday has already set up over here, or we could design our own, but we will get into this in a future video because this is a very information heavy aspect that I would want to discuss separately. So if we go over here again to our menu, we go to developers. This one right here, not everything you see here might show up for you because this is a developer account. I do have the access for developers, and this is for creating custom apps that we want to host on the Monday Marketplace, playing with the API system, getting access to our API tokens. This is the area that we would see as developers. And since I am a developer myself, I have access to this. So, but for most of you, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to interact with it at all if you're just using Monday for your own business. So let's go back into the profile. Let's zoom in. Next is trash and archive. So these are two important things to remember. When we go into trash, okay, we will see trash here and archive here. Key thing to note about trash and archive is this right here. Make sure that you know that you put your items, sub-items, your boards in the right place. They either belong in the trash or they belong in archive. And there's a very distinct distinction between the two. So after 30 days from the deletion date, it will be deleted permanently and no longer be accessible. So anything you delete will show up here in the trash. When things end up in the trash, you can't search for it, you can't interact with it, it is gone. And similarly, in the archive section, you cannot really find the items that you have sent into archive. So archive would be, again, boards, docs, groups, items that you have essentially archived, not deleted, but archived. They would show up over here. And we'll get into a future use case later on of how, instead of archiving certain items on your boards that you have interacted with and you no longer need, let's say you completed a bunch of tasks. Instead of sending them to archive, you want to create a archive group in your board so that it stays hidden away from sight, but it is still searchable and you could still use it for dashboarding purposes. Because if it ends up in the archive section, you cannot use it at all to interpret the data. It just does not show up anywhere. So next, let's get out of here. We are in the Developer Center. Okay, let's go back to our work management platform. Okay, we are back into the main workspace, and let's check out the other items. So we did trash and archive, administration, the bread and butter of everything admin. So here, if we take a look, there's a bunch of different tabs. I highly suggest when you first get into your account, before you start creating boards and interacting with your teammates, make sure you get this in order. This section has to be squeaky clean and operating exactly the way you want before you can move forward. So make sure your profile, everything is good here. Your account, are you Friday to Saturday, Saturday through Sunday? Self-explanatory. Customization, this is something new. If you have admin permissions in your Monday account, you can change different things such as the logo, the email header, certain features. If we go over here, we can enable and disable certain features that exist in the account. If we go on to boards, this will set board defaults, and this is essentially setting the default labels for status columns. And we'll go over to status columns in a future video, but if you want to create a new status column every single time with this standard configuration, you could do it right here. The user profile section. So customizing the fields that your teammates will be required to fill in on their profiles. So if you want people who are joining the Monday account new to be able to be forced to fill in certain things, we can enable that over here. User notifications, email notifications, Teams, Slack, and if we were to drop this down, this is basically for us that we want to get notified whenever these things happen. It will send us an email, and if we have Teams and Slack connected, obviously we will get all of those as well. So in the directory, we go to users. This is where we will see all of the users that are in our account. And so in the particular account that I'm using, I have myself, I have another person, which is my alter ego, Nick Parker over here, and he is a member on our account, and OmniPatron Demos is a viewer. This is another account I use for testing purposes as another user, and I have put OmniPatron Demos on this account as well with viewer roles. Now, we will discuss probably roles into more detail, but just to give you guys a quick roundup of what these roles are, admin is king. You could do anything and everything in Monday. The next type of level would be member. Members can do pretty much a lot of things in Monday. and they are restricted by certain permissions that the admin sets that only admins can access. A viewer can only view boards and view different items and different other assets in Monday, but they cannot change anything in them. And then guests are going to be essentially members that are not members. So guests are invited over to our Monday account that are outside of our organization. So everyone who works in your company should be either an admin, a member, or a viewer. But someone who is outside of your organization, let's say your clients, your colleagues from another company, or your partners from another company that you work with, they should be invited as guests, because guests have their own separate set of restrictions and access points that Monday has given to us that are completely separate from admin, member, and viewer. And from there, we can also go to invitations. Oh, actually, let me introduce you guys real quickly to teams. So, manage teams. If I click over here, let me see where this is going to open up. Okay. We can create teams as well. This is its own world that I probably should have discussed in another video, but we can probably discuss it here. So users are individuals that will exist in your account over here. But what you could do is you could assign users to different teams as well. So if you think of teams as departments, so let's say there's going to be a marketing department, a finance department, and you can assign those to those individual teams. So if I go over here, let's say I'm going to create a new team. I'm going to name this the admin team, for instance. Or I could say C-suite. So for instance, these guys are all the way at the top. They are the ones who might have admin permissions. So the team member would be myself. Okay, and as you could see, this is of course a developer account, but on the enterprise account, usually you will be able to allow guests on this team as well. But for right now, it's allowing me as a team member. And you could also upload a team profile picture if you wanted to have a picture of this particular team. So if we do create, the C-suite team will be this. We could also add another team. We could say just employees. This is a very basic example. And the team member here is going to be Nick Parker. And we'll take out actually, if we can delete myself, Nick Parker, OmniPatron demos. There we go. And it looks like I have to be part of this team. It will not allow me to delete it because since I have admin access, it's going to allow me, yeah, exactly. Since I'm the owner of the team, I can't unsubscribe myself unless I make someone else the owner, but I prefer not to make anyone else the owner. I want to be the owner of this team as the person with the highest permissions in this organization. But if anyone else was to have higher permissions than me, they would be the owners and we could assign them to that. And this is determined by these crowns. And we'll go over these crowns in future videos of looking at the board permissions. But a blue crown essentially means that you are the owner of this particular asset. And a non-colored or grayed out crown like this means that you are allowed to interact with this asset, but you don't own it. So I am the owner of this team, and Nick Parker and OmniPatron Demos can interact with this team, but they do not own it. So, and a matter of fact, since OmniPatron Demos has viewer permissions only, Monday will not even let me use them as a future owner. So I can't even assign ownership permissions to them. So just some of the cool things that we could use for teams. This is again another hierarchical structure if we wanted to structure our users inside of Teams themselves. So if I exit out of this and I go back here, let's say if we reload this page, we will see now the Teams, yep, right here. So obviously I didn't put any profile pictures, but you could see this is a C-suite team and the employees team, and I am part of that. And Nick Parker, for instance, is only part of the employees team, and so is OmniPatron Demos. So, and we will see later on in the permissions side of things, whenever I do a permissions video specific to permissions, we can assign permissions to teams rather than just assigning them to individual users. But anyways, so going on to invitations, this is an area that we can use to invite people either to our account as a future admin, possibly a member, a viewer, or even as a guest if they are outside of our organization. So if I click invite, you could see that we can either invite them by copying this link and giving it to them, or just we invite it with email. We also have the option of inviting from Google Workspace, but preferably it would be to use the email here and then choose how you want to invite them, and it will send out an email to them to simply confirm. The products to include, which we will go over in a future video, but Monday also has Monday CRM, but right now we are discussing the work management platform. And that is that. So next, departments. Departments, this is a developer account, so it is not allowing me to do the departments right here, even though I'm an admin. But what you can do is on the enterprise account, you can create departments that further segment, and you can take a look at data for those departments. Now, they don't serve the same function as teams do. These departments are more so for looking at the seat usages. So this is for the individuals at your company that are in charge of how many seats in Monday that are supposed to be paid seats. You can then put them into departments so that we can track how many seats each department is supposed to be assigned to. So again, it doesn't really have anything to do with interacting with our boards or our workspace. This is just for tracking our paid seats. Board ownership section. This is if you kick out someone from your organization or the account at Monday. If you want to switch certain board owners to another owner, you could do it over here. So if someone leaves the account, if we get rid of a certain employee or teammate and we want to assign their boards to someone else, we could do that over here. And managing boards without owners, if there's any boards that have no owners for what reason whatsoever, we can assign ownership to that. So automations ownership is also a new thing that we can also do the same thing instead of boards, but transferring the ownership of automations that we create themselves over here. Now going into security, we have a lot of different features that we can go through, and this is for the security folks, the IT folks. We have authentication policies, and now everything might not show up here again because this is showing it as a developer account, but in the enterprise account, you might potentially see a few more features over here. And Monday has a ton of different security settings, but those will all be managed over here. You could do remote management, domain approval, IP restrictions, two-factor authentication, of course, standard procedure, remote tech support. And over here, obviously, see, not available in your plan, but we have audit. This would be in the enterprise plan. For compliance, Monday does have HIPAA compliance if we want to unlock that in the enterprise plan. In the advanced section, again, it's not available because we're not on the enterprise plan. and then claim domain. So connect your business domain with Monday, verifying ownership of the domain, protecting the business, and allowing you to block new accounts from being created with the same domain. So it's just extra security features for DNS settings and verifying that these domains are actually the correct ones that this Monday account should be interacting with and accessing, excuse me. So next on to connections, automation connections. This is a really cool section that shows us, well, what do we have connected to Monday in terms of the different apps, automations, all that good stuff. We could see third-party apps, we could see internal apps, we could see automations being connected over here. What boards are they on? What automations are they? And what type of connection they are? Who owns them? Really cool if we just want to see and possibly disable certain connections that we have. On-premise profiles. So this one is to help your team connect on-prem integrations easily and safely. So this, we could create a new profile. You create your basic details, integration, and then configuration permissions. So you're creating an on-premise profile for specific connections. Teammates will be able to choose it when connecting. No need to share secrets or walk them through setup. So super cool features. Monday is adding really cool stuff every single time. And I just love seeing all the development that they do. And personalized API token. So this is, again, if you want to use third-party apps like Zapier, Make, N8N, or any other API type of interaction interface, Postman, to work with Monday's APIs and also interact with your account, this will have the API tokens over here. So next up, billing. So overview, this is just going to show you what your account status is. We're on the developer account. We have 2 members, 0 guests, 1 viewer, and you could contact support. Settings, self-explanatory. You have to be on a paid plan. Invoices, your invoices would show up over here. Payment method, and billing contacts. The tidy up section is an area where we can organize our data and we can look at the boards and the items in our account. So over here, we could kind of take a look at certain boards, see the items, archive them. So this is just looking at all of these different boards all on one screen. If we want to get rid of a few boards, archive them, we could do it all over here. So this is just administrative cleanup at the end of the day. Content directory, we could view everyone's content in one place. This is, of course, an enterprise exclusive. And this is really cool if you want to see a lot of the content. Again, kind of the way we were seeing the tidy up of everything in one place. Content directory, same thing here, all in one place. The apps, this is all of the apps that have been installed over here. And a lot of times they will also show up in the automation area too. But if it doesn't show up there, check the app section. You will see installed and pending install apps over here. Vibe apps. This is something to do with a new Monday vibe. This is going to be discussed in a future video. This is part of Monday's AI features. And then permissions. This is going to be in a separate video because this is its own crazy monster that you must master in order to create administrative functionality correctly if you are an admin on the account and you are setting permissions for everybody. And then the cross-account copier. So cross-account copier is used to essentially bundle certain boards, dashboards, all into a certain folder. So if we were to look at this, for instance, I'll go back to the account. Let's say we had this folder 1 with companies over here, I can tell cross-account copier to then take this folder 1 and move it from OmniPatron demos into another completely separate account that I have administrative privileges to access. So it could be either another company or just overall another account that I am part of. If I have the permissions, I can do that. So going back into administration again, cross-account copier over here. And you could just tell it, you have to put the boards and dashboards into the folder, and then you would just tell it go from this account to this account over here. And admin apps, this is something new, but since this is a developer account, it might not show up. There we go. Yeah. So these are App Marketplace apps that can be installed and used over here, and we'll see them over here as well. All right. See you guys in the next video. All right, everybody. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the permission section of Monday's administration section. So this is super, super critical if you are an admin on this account and you are in charge of permissions. You want to make sure that you could set permissions correctly. And there's a lot of different things that we could do over here, but I'm going to try to hopefully not bore you with all of the details, but it is very important to know the functionalities. So 4 standard levels of account roles that we have out of the box. We have admin, we have member, viewer, and guest. And each of these account roles can have different types of permissions assigned to them. So if we look over here, there's certain categories of permissions. So there's account level permissions, there's board level permissions, there's item level, dashboard level, docs, user management, communication, admin level privileges over here again, and templates. So now what you will notice is standard, if I was to click into the next level down of account roles, you'll start to see permissions being unchecked. Now, for instance, I went to viewer. Viewers don't have any of these permissions, just out the box. We can set certain custom roles, and I'll get to that in a bit, but out of the box, admins have these sets of permissions. We can check and uncheck a lot of them. Members have certain permissions that we can check and uncheck. Viewers have certain permissions that we cannot check and uncheck, and they are standard to only access certain things. And then guests, we can have also the ability to check and uncheck certain things, and also we don't have the ability on certain areas to check and uncheck. But now, what if, let's say, admin, member, viewer, and guest is just not the way your company does things? You can create a new role, and let's say we want to create someone in between admin and member. Now remember, admin is always going to be considered the super admin. That is the highest level that Monday gives you over here. You cannot create a new role above admin, but what you can do is create anything below admin. So we could say for this one, manager. Now we're going to base this role on the member settings, okay? And it is going to be either equal to the member settings or less. Now what we can do also is we could go to the member and check off some stuff. Maybe the member is not allowed to do certain things, but the manager is. And we will find that manager down here. So we can create custom permission groups or account roles with certain permissions right here. So super helpful, super easy, and it really helps us set things at the admin level before we have to then narrow down permissions into the next levels, which is workspace, board, and item, which is exactly what we are going to get into right now. So this was the admin level permissions, okay? The next level down, that after we have created and mastered what we want in terms of the account roles and the permission set for those particular accounts, we then can set further permissions going down. So if we look into the workspace section and I click over here, I go to manage workspace and just zoom out a little bit. You'll see over here, after we have created the admin level permissions, the next level to manage is, okay, what if we want to have specific permissions set for just this workspace by itself? We just click over here in permissions, and now we could see, what can a workspace owner do? What can a workspace member do? And what can a workspace non-member do? And these are the options that we could check off. If it's blue, that means they could do it. If it's unchecked, that means they can't do it. And what is a workspace owner versus a member or a non-member? Well, super easy. So if we go into the member section over here, manage users. Oh, it went back to the admin section. Let me show you in this workspace itself. So if we go to here, let's see, manage workspace. There we are. Okay. Let's see. Oh, because yes, this is a main workspace. My apologies. A main workspace always has all members in the work management are members of this workspace. Yes. If we were to look at this in another workspace, let's say this one, project portfolio management. If I go here into manage workspace, go to permissions, and go to the icon up here, okay? If I click on this icon right here, we will see who is part of this workspace and what sort of level are they at in terms of a role. Not their permissions, because the permissions are set by the roles themselves over here, as we discussed. But we are trying to see, are they an owner, a member, or a non-member? And if we click that picture icon of mine, we could see over here that I am a owner because I have a blue crown. Remember that blue crown that we saw previously? Now, what if I want to invite someone else over here? I can invite everyone as a team. Whoever's part of this team at OmniPatron Demos can be invited automatically. And we will see now they come as members, not as owners, but they are going to be members. And it says everyone at OmniPatron Demos can't become workspace owners because we have a viewer user in this team. That's why they cannot be an owner. So if I was to delete this out, and let's invite Nick Parker. Okay. Nick Parker is initially invited as a member of this workspace, but we can also make him an owner too. If we click on it, now he has a blue crown. Now he has the same permissions as I do to do whatever he wants in this workspace. If I remove the blue crown, now he's going to be kind of grayed out. So I will have workspace owner permissions, which will be dictated by these set of criteria. And workspace members will be dictated by this set of criteria, which we can obviously edit. So that is the workspace level permissions. Now, if we wanted to go into the next step, this would be board level permissions. So if I go into any of these boards, and what we're going to do is see my mouse over here. We go right here to these three dots. Options. We go to permissions right here. And now the next level down from workspace level permissions would be these board level permissions. And if I click on that, we have a lot of different things that we can do. All right, so getting into the permissions, one thing that I need to let you guys know is who is a owner and who is a member, or who are owners and who are members on a particular board. Do not get confused by this area right here, view activity log. So this does not necessarily tell you who's a owner or a board member, because just because you see the picture over here. What we have to do is, again, go back into permissions, and we are going to see here who the owner is and who the members are. So it might be confusing because we see Nick Parker over here on the activity log, but we don't see him in the permissions. So just to make things official, we can add Nick Parker as a member on this board. And there we go. We could see his icon is grayed out. So he's a member and I'm the only owner. So now that is the permission set area that we can add members to this board. But also we could do it from the invite section as well. So it's not just the permission area. So if I was to go into the permission settings, let's go to this member right here. Delete that. We could see that in the invite area, it's the same thing. So if we go to invite, he's been deleted from here. And it's because the permission setting that we go into on the board right here, when we try to add someone, it goes directly into the same window that opens up from the invite section. So this is where we can invite people onto this board. So same thing. If I was to do Nick Parker, there you go. Now he is part of this board. So don't get confused if you see someone's icon over here. That does not necessarily mean they are part of this board. They have to be part of the invite area in order to be part of this board, to then be able to interact with it with the permissions set forth. So going back to the permissions for the board level, owners obviously have all the permissions. They could do everything and anything in a particular board if they are an owner of that board. But members can have their permissions restricted. So what do we want members to do? We cannot choose individual things here for items, sub-items, in general, updates, columns. But what we can do is get preset permissions set based on these 4 categories. Either they can edit everything, which means they can access everything and edit everything. They can, or the second level down would be only edit content, only edit assigned projects as the third level, or if you want to restrict them from editing anything, you could put view and comment. And you'll see these red X's come up whenever we choose view and comment. As we keep going higher into the permissions, we can then get more green check marks. Now, there are certain areas after these major categories have been chosen that we can customize certain things. So if I go to only edit content, or if I was to just choose edit everything, the view items area, we could still say here, customize. Choose the projects that members can view, all items, or only projects they created and items assigned to them in any people column. This is super, super important for wanting to restrict access to members in a certain board, and we'll demonstrate that shortly. But if you want them to only be able to access what they are assigned to or what they created, this would be the option that we choose. And again, people can only edit what they can see. So if they can't see it, they cannot edit it. So this is one way of restricting, let's say, a bunch of sales associates that are working on the same board that should not see their teammates' activities. Then we could use this option right here to have everybody working in the same board, but only seeing what they have been assigned to. So we're just going to keep it on all items. That's one thing. And as we see over here, we don't have any other options that we can customize. Groups, standard, views, forms, all of it is standard. So the items section is essentially where we can customize that only assigned to them in a people column feature. And it's important to know, again, if someone is assigned to an item, they can also see all of its sub-items. If any item's viewing permissions are restricted, only board owners can manage and run automations and integrations on the board. And you could also read more. So it's super, super important if you're going to be a admin working in Monday and your responsibility is to set and organize the permissions of people in Monday, this is the area to do it. All right, everybody. So the last level of permissions that we can configure are column level permissions, and they are within the boards themselves. So if we remember what we just went over, we did the admin level permissions from the admin level, the workspace level permissions at the workspace, board level permissions found over here. And now we are going to look at the column level permissions themselves. So if you take a look at every single column, they have 3 dots next to the column themselves. And if you click on this and you go to settings, there are certain permissions that we could set. Now, obviously, I am an admin, so I can control any of these permission settings. And one of them, which is new and awesome, is set column as required. In other words, when we set this as required, whenever a new item is being created, that column must be filled in. That's going to be a requirement. And it's very similar to whenever you're filling out a form and you have to fill out that particular column before that item will be created. The next thing is to restrict column editing and restrict column viewing. So remember the philosophy. You can only edit something that you can see or you can view. If you cannot view it, you cannot edit it. So if you want your members, the board members, to see a particular column, to see the information in there, but just not to edit it, then what you want to do is you want to restrict column editing. That allows them to view it, but not edit. If you don't want them to see that at all, then you do restrict column view. So if I do restrict column editing, you will see a lock symbol on it. But if I was to change this to remove restriction, and I go to restrict column view, you will see a eyeball with a cross across it. And that tells you that only board owners can view this column. Anyone who's a board member cannot view this column. And even outside of members, if you are not even a member on this board, you cannot view this column as well. So really, really cool. And this kind of sums it up. We have, and let's try the set column as required feature as well. So if I do set column as required, for instance, and I do test new project. Remember that column that we just took a look at called executive summary that we set as a requirement? Look what it's doing. I need to create that executive summary for this particular item before it will create it. It will not allow me to create it if this requirement is on. So now we're just going to remove it. Really cool stuff, really awesome, going all the way from admin to the column level permissions. And we will see you guys in the next video. Hey everyone, real quick thing I wanted to show you in the admin section over here. So if we click back into our icon, in the explore section, we have a couple of different things that we can access, or I'll just show you what we could do over here on the right side. So first off, the app marketplace. The app marketplace is the place to go if we want to be able to attach apps that have been created either by Monday or by other software. And this is expanding the different capabilities that Monday has. So if, let's say, we wanted to have Calendly event management connected to Monday, this app setup that has been created by Setup Solution. See, it's not even by the Calendly company itself, but another developer, that they will create a sync or a connection between Calendly and Monday, so that more than likely items will sync across the two. Or this one by Workflow Boost, column to column, copy data between columns. And this, for instance, another one right here by Tower Apps. These are third-party developers that are using their skill sets to create some really super awesome apps. And what this does is it works around a lot of the limitations within Monday. Not to say that Monday has a lot of limitations. As a matter of fact, they are the one program that can do so much out of the factory, just out of the box. But these apps fill in the gaps. What I like to call it is apps fill in the gaps. They are developed around any sort of limitation, any sort of area that you get stuck at within Monday that it doesn't have a native feature. More than likely someone's developed an app in order to solve that issue. So check this out. Definitely check it out. Now, going back over here, the mobile app, obviously this is to download the Monday app on your mobile phone. And all you got to do is just scan the QR code and you could get it on your phone as well. And we'll show this in another video, how the phone app itself functions and how it feels, how it looks. Now going back over here, Monday Labs. This is something that you should know about as an admin, but you shouldn't necessarily activate unless you need to. So Monday Labs is the activation of beta features. So myself as a developer, as an individual who wants to get the absolute latest features and functionalities in Monday, regardless of if they are 100% foolproof, 100% functional or not, I want them. So what I will do is I will go into Monday Labs and I will activate certain things in here that make sense for me. So for instance, as a developer, I have activated developer mode, and I'm trying to zoom in right now to show you guys, and obviously I can't do that. So, but I've activated developer mode over here, and what that does, for instance, is it shows all of the internal ID names of the columns. This is something you don't have to worry about, but this is for APIs. So whenever I am doing certain automations, so let's take a look. I know it's jumping around over here. Let's take a look at anticipated outcomes. This is a text field, okay? And it is a long text field because you could tell from this large paragraph that is here. This long text field, if we click into the three dots, has column ID right here. This is the internal name of that column, long text 9 or long underscore text 9. So whenever I am working on a make.com automation, when I am creating a certain sync between one software to the next, my make platform is looking at this property name or this field name. And you want to call them properties, fields, they're kind of the same thing. And you would look at this, and then you would aim that automation at this particular field. But again, this is just for very detailed API-based automations, that not something that you have to worry about as an average user. So shortcuts over here, this is going to be your keyboard shortcuts. So if you do Shift ? You can open this menu. So this is essentially your hotkeys. What can you do that will quickly bring up certain icons, certain windows within Monday that you can then control or do certain actions with? This would be your thing right here. So just remember Shift ? and you can open that up. And then beyond that, one thing that you could do is, for instance, I've shown all of you here right now in light mode, the way that the color scheme has been done. But normally I will use Monday in dark mode. So if I go to dark mode, we could see that the color changes to a energy efficient, slightly bluish purple type of a hue. Very easy on the eyes. I personally work with dark mode all the time, but not everybody wants that. So Monday has a lot of other cool features, like if you want to do a hacker theme, and you can kind of get this standard text font, standard code font style, and you can also do a night theme as well, so completely black. But normally what I would do is I would always use it on a dark theme, but for purposes of this video and videos, I would be showing it as the light theme. So definitely saves a lot of energy, and it saves your eyes in the process. So would super recommend using some of these darker themed modes, and it will be a lot better for your computer, a lot better for your eyes. And then let's see, oh, there we go. If we go back into this, this will show you right here. I'm trying to close it and it's not closing. Come on, Monday, work with me. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So your developer plan. So this will show you the plan type, whatever plan that you are on, the number of items that you're allowed to create, and your maximum cap. And it will also give you an advertisement of trying out the next tier. So, and working status, do not disturb. This is if you want to, and I'm trying to see, Monday can sometimes get stuck on certain things. So you have to kind of exit out and go back in it again. So working status, do not disturb, on or off. And what this does is if you highlight over it, notifications and inbox will be silenced. If we go into more, we could also set our status, kind of like the same way we do on Teams. So that does it for pretty much the admin section. Thanks, guys, and we will chat or meet in the next video. See you soon.